All right, everybody. So here we are jumping into our interview with Jess Carroll. What's up, girl? How you doing?
Hey, how are you?
Doing great. Just living one day at a time, always.
Wonderful.
So my first question to you, for those of you who don't know, this is actually a pretty exclusive on my part. I want to give myself a little bit of a clap on the back for landing you, Jess, because you were literally on the show first episode, like literally last week, and now you're on my podcast. So I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Well, you should. Thank you for reaching out. I'm excited.
So I know that I'm going to get into a little bit. I know that you kind of have created this like in the quickest amount of time I've ever seen somebody turn like a TV appearance into like a podcast and like all of this other stuff and being on other TV shows. So I want to hear about all of that, how like you've done all that so quickly and how like, just in general, if other people are trying to capitalize on something and just like really get into something exciting. But before I ask you about all that stuff, I'm talking about like the Rose Girls, like your podcast, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Before I get into all that, I did have a question from somebody that just said, and this is like a funny question that I'm wanting to ask you just because you were there for one night. So for those who don't know, I should actually give some backstory. You're obviously on Ari's season. For those who aren't watching, it's literally on right now. Like if you want to start watching it now, you've only missed 2 episodes at this point. It's now Wednesday that you'll be listening. And Jess was on the first episode. You came out of the limo. So I live tweet the episodes and then I do like a little live reaction afterwards on Instagram. And that's basically it. I like talk about it on my podcast. I've been a Bachelor fan for years.
Yeah.
So when you came out, I was like, damn, that girl's hot. Like, who's this girl? Like, she's going to make it so far. And then you were gone in like 1 minute.
It was honestly when I stepped out of that limo, going into this, obviously everyone thinks that they're going to get at least a rose the first night. I mean,
Sure.
no one thinks I'm not going to get a rose. So when I went in, I went in with an open heart and open mind, and I was obviously had a positive outlook on it. But the whole reason why I decided to even like say yes to this whole Bachelor thing is because it was season 22, which like 22 has always been my number. It's my brother plays professional hockey, so it's his hockey number. And the weirdest part of all is that when I found out Ari was the Bachelor, I saw it as a sign because my dad had met Ari before. And then before he was even on The Bachelorette. And then when he was on The Bachelorette, my dad was very, very ill. He was like in the hospital, tubes up his nose. And we almost used The Bachelorette as like an escape of what was really going on in reality. And dad, because he had met Ari before, thought it was cool. And so was kind of rooting for Ari. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to say yes and send in an application. And then next thing I know, I was like walking out of the limo meeting Ari.
Yeah, that's actually really crazy. I feel like we didn't get to hear that much on the show. Like I feel like what they gave a little background, you're like, oh, my dad had met him before, but there wasn't like enough backstory to have it make sense. I feel like when everybody heard it, it was like, oh, that's interesting, but we've already moved on to like the next person. It's like not enough time for you to tell your story. But can you tell me how your dad met him? I'm like confused by that.
Yeah, so Ari's obviously a race car driver.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
from Scottsdale. And my dad collected vintage cars. So every year he would go to the Bear Jackson car auction. And one year my mom was hosting the fashion show and brought Ari up on stage as the celebrity race car, professional guy. And he had him like walk the runway. And then after the fashion show, my mom introduced Ari to my dad. And when I actually was talking to Ari on the show, he remembered the whole thing.
Oh,
so
wow. That's so wild. I feel like that is a very strange coincidence. I would probably do the same thing. I'd be like, okay, well, it's been how many years since that show? Like 7, like an insane amount of years since he's even been on The Bachelorette. So it's kind of like, yeah. So I feel like I'd probably, if I were in your shoes, I would think the same thing. Like, this is like really, random that all of a sudden he's the Bachelor. Why not apply?
Like, and since dad has passed, so it's kind of cool that dad met Ari, but clearly Ari did
thing. Yeah, definitely. I think so. I mean, I guess just going into it and what I've been kind of seeing online, and I've I've been on and had Caitlin Bristow on my podcast before. So I've talked with her a bunch, and she was saying something last week that I thought was interesting. Just saying how like people are always like, oh, I can't believe these girls are crying after night one, like blah, blah, blah. You got voted off. You didn't even get to know. But the whole experience, you go into it and you like spend all this money, you take all this time. It's like emotionally taxing, like all of this shit. Like obviously you're going to cry. Like when she said that, I was like, yeah, duh. When you left, I felt like it was like a very positive vibe. You were like, whatever, like this, everything happens for a reason, blah, blah, blah. I thought that was respectful and like commendable of you. I would have been like bawling and pissed.
Yeah. I mean, there's memes out there of me crying. Like, obviously, crying on national television is not something anybody wants to live or rewatch.
Yeah, true. Whatever. Mm-hmm.
And, at the time that night, I was shocked. I was, in a way, almost kind of embarrassed too, because I had just opened up so much to Ari. But, life goes on and everything happens for a reason. And even though I went into The Bachelor, searching for love, the good thing is that I did still leave with some kind of love, but it was in more of a friendship love, because when I left and as everyone saw, I had tears, like dripping down my eyes. When I got on that bus with the 7 other girls who went home with me, we connected and we bonded so much. Like there was like a little like love fest going on that bus. And even over the past few months before the premiere day, it was those girls who really got me through, this challenging time, because even though we're all very different and we're all from different parts of the States,
mm-hmm.
we all went through this, rejection where, millions of people watched us not get a rose. So we really bonded over that.
Yeah, of course. And I feel like that's the case a lot of the time for all of the like ex-Bachelor people or the people that go on to Paradise and things like that. I feel like a lot of the time they all become such friends because they have this huge thing in common. Not so much that they like have anything else in common, but they can always like talk about how nobody can even breathe when Chris Harrison's in the room and stuff like that, And I think that's pretty interesting. Do you think that so I know, so you've started a podcast with these girls.
Yeah. So we have formed kind of a platform called the Rosé Girls.
Okay.
And
it's not like a total podcast, right? It's like some video. It's like a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So we have a website, and then we release like a weekly blog. We do a weekly podcast, which right now it's mainly just on YouTube. It's actually a video podcast.
Got it. Okay.
And we have an Instagram account, and we're just, we don't really have a plan. We just wanted to stick together and just try to, empower other people out there, that everyone goes through challenges in life, and that the best way to overcome those are to have a great support system.
Yeah.
And just to empower people to be resilient. Like that's like our main word, is just to be resilient.
I think that that's a really great thing to be doing, only because I know if I were put in that situation, like I'm hearing you talk about it and I'm like, oh, that sounds so nice in theory. In my opinion, if it were me, like hopping on this bus with these 7 other girls, I'd be like, don't talk to me, bitches. Like I can't, like I'm not, I'm trying to think of the word, like genuine enough to like do a video series or do something like that, to come in and be like, yes, like we'll all think great, think highly and be excited and be positive all the time. Do you foresee any sort of issue in the future? Like maybe one of you will have a bad day, like and like kind of wants to talk some shit. Like, do you think it'll just be like a support system, or will it be like I don't know. I don't want to say disingenuine, but do you think that it'll be hard to stay so excited or positive or, reinforcing?
I mean, I think that it's almost good to show the good and the bad days. And I think it's good to all disagree. So hopefully, I don't want to just always be, the positive people, but that's what the support system's for. It's like when someone is having a bad day, to kind of help them, or like when someone does want to talk shit, like you can talk shit to someone you trust,
For sure.
And so that's what we wanted to really create, this like authentic, raw, like open, group of girls and platform for other people to also reach out.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think that it's definitely something I'll want to tune into, just like purely out of interest, if not anything else, just to see like how that goes. I feel like especially you're thrown in with all of these people that you have no idea who they are. You're like forced to spend all this time. You like you said, you have this one thing in common you can all talk about. But I wonder, like how long does that last? How long does it how long do those friendships stay friendships? Or is it just,
Yeah.
you
Well,
kind of seize the opportunity?
the one thing I do have to say is, I mean, I obviously didn't get to know all 29 girls that well.
Oh yeah. How could you? Mm-hmm.
I was impressed by like the quality of girls on the season. Like all I can say is that the 7 girls who went home with me, we've been talking for, since we got kicked off, so a few months now, and we have, they've all already visited me in LA. We already have another trip planned. Like, we sincerely are really good friends, and we know so much about each other. And honestly, through this podcast, we're learning more about each other because we didn't know anything before.
Yeah, of course.
For example, this morning we released our second video, and we, like a lot of our followers DM'd us questions on what to do and what not to do on your first date. And then we answered them. And it was really interesting because we all pretty much had different opinions. Like, do you have sex? Do you talk about sex? Like, do you text the guy after? Do you not? What do you eat? One girl's like, are you kidding? I'm ordering spaghetti.
Yeah, I order whatever I want.
Yeah, I'm gonna order whatever I want. If the guy wants to judge me for that, then he's clearly not the right guy,
Yeah, yeah.
So it's interesting. It's really interesting.
I like that a lot. And it's called, tell me again what it's called. It's Rose Girls.
The Rose Girls.
The Rose Girls. Okay. So that's everywhere. And it's YouTube, right? But it's through, what do you guys record it on? I meant to ask you that like offline, but I'll ask you online.
We record it through this video conferencing app called Zoom.
Oh, cool. It looks really cool. It's like aesthetically pleasing because I was clicking on it before and you can see all your faces and reactions and stuff. And I think that's really fun.
Yeah, no, wait. Yeah, because we want them to, obviously they didn't get to know us on the show. So hopefully they can still get to know us through the Rose Girls.
Definitely. So after all of this and, kind of going home and everything ending a little bit abruptly, how have your family and friends like just react to all of this? Do you think that you've not gotten off easy, but do you think that they're kind of relieved? Like they don't have to watch an entire season, be nervous or, whatever.
You have no idea. Oh my gosh. So I didn't really tell a lot of people because I just, I wasn't sure, and it all kind of just happened so fast.
Sure, of course.
But my poor brother and my mother and my grandparents, they are just like, we could not have another week go by and not know what they air of you or, so they are relieved and so it all, like I said, it definitely, I still wish I got at least one rose. I'm not going to lie, but
sure, obviously everybody wants, like a little bit of validation. Like, hey, I just came all the way out here and like did all this bullshit. At least give me a rose.
Yeah,
for sure.
But whatever. And I'm happy, and they were relieved.
I always think about that whenever I talk to anybody that's been on The Bachelor or like thinking about it or whatever. I always think about my grandparents specifically because like my grandparents are really cool. Like they know I have a podcast. They don't really listen to it, and, but they're cool otherwise and pretty hip. But I don't think that they'd be able to stomach like the TV show, the bad like edit jobs, like all of that. I don't think they could do it. Yeah. So I always am like, thank God. Like I would personally never go on the show for that reason. Like just strictly because I'd be too nervous that my grandpa would like be sad.
Exactly. Yeah. And my poor brother, he plays professional hockey. So I can
that too.
If I stayed on longer, what the other players would say to him.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so funny. I had a question from a person named Jack. They said, he just says, do people talk about what goes on in the fantasy suite? And I thought that was an interesting question for you because I feel like if I were to go beyond The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, whatever, and I were to like ask all the questions, I'd be like kind of nervous about that. I'd be like, all right, we have like 8 weeks. How many weeks is filming? Do you know? I forget.
It's
not very many.
It's not very many. No, I think it is like 8 weeks or 10 weeks or something.
Yeah, something like that. But do you guys have like before you even do the limo, before you do anything, do you guys ever have like a fantasy suite conversation or like a not you and Ari so much. I mean like you and the other girls or like a hometowns conversation? Like does anybody get nervous about it right ahead of time?
No, not really.
Yeah, I guess I don't know how I don't think I would probably think that far ahead. I think fantasy suite I'd make like a lot of jokes about. I think I'd be like, oh, fantasy suite.
Yeah, For me personally, when it came to like the hometowns, I live in Santa Monica, California, but I'm originally from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, which is like where all my family's from. So I was like, okay, they were like, so where do you want to have your hometown? And I was like, do I have it where I'm like from, where all my friends are, or do I have it like where my family's from? So that was kind of like an interesting question.
Yeah, I guess that too is like, so would you say you're Canadian or would you say like you're from LA?
I actually just got my dual citizenship.
Oh, that's dope. Congratulations.
Yeah, so I'm both, but my whole family still lives in Canada, so I'm definitely, I would call myself a Canadian.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I feel like that too. That's like a whole thing. When you go on the show, you have to like classify immediately. Like Daniel, who was on, I don't even know whose season he was on right now. JoJo's, I guess, who his like occupation was Canadian the whole time.
Yeah.
Like they pick on so many things.
Yeah.
It's hysterical. What do you think was your, so I remember reading your bio. What was one of your like favorite questions to answer on your bio? I know that you do like this huge questionnaire, like blah, blah, blah. What do you think was like the thing you wanted people to know most about you?
Oh gosh, I don't even like remember. I forget what they even said about me on the website. I know that they asked a question about,
trying to look up your thing so I can help you because I mean, how could you remember? Honest, I asked that question. I'm like, that was a tough question to ask, actually. Let's see, Jessica. Let's see if this is you. Oh yeah, this is you. Let's see. It has you listed as Canada here.
Oh yeah.
I just realized I didn't see this before. It says your favorite sunflower or your favorite flower is a sunflower. That's also my favorite flower.
Yeah, I love sunflowers.
I do too. It's like a thing with me and my mom. We like always, it's like we have sunflowers like all over my house. She's like always putting them everywhere. I feel like they ask you a lot about your family in here. That's interesting. Do they like try to, I'm trying to think how to phrase. Do you think that they, when asking you these questions or when they like meet you or when they think you're going to meet Ari, do you think that they focus in on what you're most comfortable talking about? I feel like that seems like you seem very family oriented and like a wholesome kind of person. And I feel like you're not somebody who's going to like fly off the handle and jump in the pool without your top on, Yeah. I feel like they probably peg you pretty soon, I would think.
Yeah, they do. I mean, I guess you can talk about whatever you really want.
Yeah, that's true. I guess you don't really have any kind of cap on what you can say at any time.
Really sweet though, because Ari is a very sweet guy. And when I was talking to him, it was freezing that night. Like it was so.
Yeah, I wanted to ask that. Where, like, what time of that must have been? It was filmed like wintertime, right? I mean, a couple weeks ago.
It was like, I don't know, end of September, maybe early October. And that night was just so cold. And they keep all like the doors and the windows open. And so when I sat down with him, we were sitting by the fire, but I was just still really cold. And so Ari was so sweet. He like took off his jacket and he put it around my shoulders. But then production was like, hold it, wait a second. The jacket's interfering with her mic. So Ari had to put his jacket back on. But it was really sweet of him. And so I thought that was kind of a cute little story that obviously never aired.
Right. Oh, that is so sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, what a nice thing. God, I was so obsessed with Ari when he was on Emily's season, like beyond. Is he hot in person? Like, would you say like that guy's hot?
Yeah, he is hot.
Yeah. I like get that impression. People are so like polarized by that. I always am like, yeah, I think Ari's hot as shit. Everybody's like, what do you mean? He's not that hot. I'm like, he definitely is. Like, do you have eyeballs?
Yeah, he's definitely a charmer. Like when you're talking to him, he makes you feel very comfortable.
Yeah, for sure. Have you ever dated anybody that's like Ari in the past? Like, is he like, I know that I personally have like such a type and Ari's like my type, like for sure. Maybe not the salt and pepper hair. Like that's kind of new in my life, but the light eyes, dark hair, like, tall, slender guy. That's always like my go-to.
Yeah. It's so funny. My friends always make fun of me because I do not have a type at all.
Oh, really?
You look at all my exes or like even people I've dated, like none of them look the same, all very different. So I don't have a type. And it comes down to like, obviously you have to be sexually attracted to them, but it really comes down to their personality.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I always think like I think about that when I think of like my guy friends. I feel like I have so many guy friends just because I think that they're funny like all the time. Like and it's not even like a friend zone way. I just feel like I will like you if you're funny and if you're nice. Like you could be literally the ugliest person and I'll like think that you're nice or think that you're cool if you're like funny and nice.
Yeah, exactly. And they have to make you laugh. That is so important.
Definitely. Yeah,
Live
absolutely.
like I have a fun lifestyle. Like not like I'm not into people who take life too seriously.
Yeah, for sure. That actually kind of goes into a question I got from somebody named Sal, who
Mhm.
I'm not sure if he knew you were coming on or not, but he submitted this question and I thought it would be nice to ask you.
Oh.
So he says, what should I do if I'm seeing this girl, but I don't want a relationship right now? I like my freedom, but I also enjoy hanging with this girl. I don't want her to get the wrong idea. I haven't ever had a relationship in so long, so it might just be that I'm too used to my whatever I want to do lifestyle. I need answers, please. So my first thoughts when I heard this was like, yes, Al, you're definitely like a little too comfortable in what you're doing, and maybe you should date somebody to like see what's up. But I'm interested to know your thoughts, actually.
Yeah, I mean, if he's been single for a while and he likes this girl and he likes hanging out with this girl, then maybe it's time to take it to the next, level.
Yeah.
But I do think that, being single is fun. I'm not sure how old he is, but if you're
Yeah, me
single
neither.
and you're not necessarily looking to settle down, then I think it's fine if you're just having fun and playing around. And as long as both of you guys are like on the same page, like if this girl wants things to become more serious and you're just kind of maybe like teasing or leading her on, that's not okay. But if you guys are on the same page and you guys are friends and like hanging out, then sure. But you said you've been single for a while, so maybe you could try to take it to the next level and see if you are ready to date.
I feel like so many people underestimate like short relationships. Like not every relationship you get into has to be like 5 years long. Like you can have a girlfriend for like 2 months. Like nobody's going to judge you for that. Like you don't have to meet her parents immediately, you know? I
Right,
feel like
exactly.
why not? Yeah. Like if you're like, just floating around, whatever, you like don't know if you want a relationship, be in this relationship. And if it sucks, like break up. Like I don't understand why I get people get stuck and stuff like that, but I feel like that's especially if it's like a new relationship. It's not like you have baggage or something. You can just like break it off.
And also with every relationship you have, you learn what you want, what you don't want, and you learn
Mhm.
more about yourself.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Couldn't agree more. What an insightful answer, Jess. I'm so glad I asked you that. I'm trying to think if I had any extra questions for you. I I just know that I think that you were robbed. I think that you should have been on longer for sure. Like I said, I was tweeting about you and I was like, damn, who's this girl? And then all of a sudden you were gone. And I was like, well, what the fuck? And last week on the podcast, I was like, that girl should have gone literally at least 3 more episodes. Like just in general. Just like if I were to not even know you at all and just like see your face, be like that girl, she should be on for a couple more at least.
I know I was listening to your preview. I always listen to all these Bachelor previews and
Yeah, of
podcasts.
course.
And I always am so curious to know what they have to say about me, but I liked what you said. You were like rooting for me. I'm like, go girl, go Kelly. I like
Yeah.
this.
Well, I'm always rooting for these girls. So like I love to this is my favorite thing. I always am like commenting on these girls all the time as if I'll like as if I don't know them, as if they're not people. That people always do that. And then I think about it more and lately I've definitely been thinking about it more just because like Twitter honestly helps me interact with people so much more than you'd think. So like if I talk shit about somebody on Twitter, like they're going to see it. Like I already know. And so I always have to think about it as like, oh, this person, I could say that I hate their dress or whatever, whatever they said was really stupid, but they're probably just normal and nervous and like on TV. So it's like, I don't
Yeah.
know how I would react. I feel like I'd get so much shit.
And plus, like your podcast and you as an individual, if you liked every single person, okay, that's boring, So
Yeah,
it's like
nobody wants to hear that for
it's
sure.
gonna have opinions and all that. And so I even like all these memes that they've made of me out there, of me crying on television. It's like I kind of find them funny. Like I laugh about it.
Yeah, honestly, I'm like, I feel like you don't think that you want a crying meme of yourself, but I think I do. Like, I think now I need that. Like, whenever I'm in like a bad mood or whenever somebody's complaining, like I feel like I need somebody to quickly catch me on camera crying. Like that might be good for my career. I don't
The
know.
Kim
I'll
K
have
crowd.
to I'll have to have like a crying breakdown in public somewhere and like make sure there's a camera around. Oh my God. Well, all right, Jess. I thank you so much for coming on and chatting with me. Let us know actually all of your mediums. Where can we follow you everywhere?
So on Twitter, Instagram, I'm Jess Carroll TV.
Hmm.
Carroll with Carroll.
Mm-hmm.
And then on YouTube, you can find me at Jessica Carroll TV.
Excellent.
And that's about it.
And then the Rose Girls, obviously. We just
Right. And then on Instagram, it's the_Rose Girls.
Perfect. Which I appreciate, by the way. I appreciate the rose because, you know, this is a wine podcast.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Shout out to that.
Always cheers with rose or wine, whatever.
Oh yeah, always. I mean, that's the story of our lives. It's the way it makes the world turn. Wine, always.
Exactly. Yes.
Well, all right, Jess. Thank you again so much for coming on and chatting with me.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.